Hi everyone, this is Bob Whitaker again from History Respawn, playing a bit more of Mafia 3. I've progressed a little bit more in the game. I've taken over a new district, and I thought I would just kind of keep going with the district takeover. Again, this is a game that is set in what is essentially a fictionalized version of New Orleans in 1968. And let's see, I need a car. So, just to give you a sense of what I've done since the last stream, I've taken over River Row here, and I've also taken over Delray Hollow, which both of these neighborhoods, Delray is kind of a poor stand-in for what is in New Orleans the lower Ninth Ward, poor African American neighborhood, and then the River Row is essentially the shoot, it's too late. Is essentially the harbor district, so a lot of piers and whatnot. And now they're having me go up here to Point Verdun to take over another district. So I'm going to just drive up there and kind of maybe go through the downtown area, get a better sense of the city more generally. But of course, I need a car. There's a lawnmower here. I don't know if I can use this. Well, I can push it. I don't know why you would want to use a lawnmower in a video game. That's just me. This game's got some interesting physics with this type of stuff. I don't really remember other games having the ability to kind of push into, well, the lawnmower and then the swings here. And then also, if you go around some of these houses, there are laundry lines, and you can walk through those also. It's actually pretty cool. I don't remember having seen that in other games. Maybe that's just my imagination. Ooh, there's a pawn shop here. I haven't been in one of these yet. I want to go in and check it out.
Excuse you. Welcome.
Doesn't look like I can come in here and buy anything. No. Doesn't look like that. Oh well. I suppose I could steal money from the register, but
Out of the way.
I don't want to do that. Alright, let's break into this stand-in for a beetle. I don't know what they call it here in Mafia. So, you notice there that the notice came up for a witness who's got to run to a phone booth and call the cops. And that was the police radio picking up the call, 911 call. But as you can tell, the police operator didn't seem really that urgent. And that's a reflection not necessarily of the crime that I committed, but in the area of the city in which I committed the crime. So because I broke into a car, stole it in Delray Hollow, there's not a lot of emphasis on the basis of the neighborhood by the cops to go into that neighborhood and try to deal with crime, primarily because it's a poor African American district. And that is actually, kind of interesting as far as, if you're thinking about the history of racial segregation and the geographic nature of that. I need to turn around here. It's interesting that the game, and you can see they've given up the search already, but it's interesting the game does a pretty good job of depicting geographic segregation in terms of not so much overt, aggressive racism segregation, but kind of the segregation and racism of neglect. So I discovered last night that, of course, when you stream the game, it doesn't play the licensed music. So right now I'm listening to Johnny Cash, Folsom Prison Blues. And also, the game does not allow you to stream the audio from cutscenes. So if there's a cutscene that I run into here, it's going to cut out the game audio, and it's also going to cut out my audio. It's kind of unfortunate. So this is downtown district. Stand in again for downtown New Orleans. And in the game storyline, the enemy characters, the Italian mob, are attempting to use their underworld influence in order to get casinos operating in the city of New Orleans. Now, for the longest time, casinos had been available in New Orleans, but they had to be located on the river, so steamboats basically. And the antagonist in this game, the Italian Mafia, want to get a casino built in the city. And Lincoln Clay is trying to kind of foil their efforts to get that done. It's a bit further away than I thought. Go. There's a bowling alley. I don't know if we can go in there. So now the music's changed. Now it's playing Iron Butterflies, Inagata Davida. It's really too bad that they don't allow you to play the music on streams, because I think it does quite a bit to add to the historical flavor, or the kind of the authentic feel that the game manages to deliver. So now I'm going to walk into this bar and meet a new contact, going to help me expand my criminal empire here. So it looks like we need to go into the back door. Okay, well.
Sit your ass back down. We going for a ride.
What the Christ you think you're doing?
You were bragging about your stones, so I figured we'd take a little ride. See who cracks first, the Chalky or the Mick.
Holy mother, Harangara Jarek!
Kind of a strange mission. We're being forced to drive crazy.
That's the shot. Maybe there's hope for you yet, you monkey batch.
I'd say in terms of the driving, this game has a good sense of the feel of these old vehicles.
You're gonna make the piss come out of me,
You know, these
Jabsy.
things, these old American cars, they really handle like upside down bathtubs. If you've ever driven one. And you could definitely feel that in terms of how the cars handle going around corners.
Give me the word when you've had enough.
I have no idea how long I'm supposed to do this. I guess I have to fill the meter up.
Christ, you're gonna make the piss come out of me, Jabsy.
It won't cause too much damage.
Here you go, Chunky. Try the piss flops
Ooh.
of this, Molly.
Wow. I would say that despite the fact that the game does really well with the feel of the cars, the collisions don't really feel that authentic, I guess. I don't know, I haven't been in many car crashes, thankfully, but
Christ, you're gonna make the
it
piss
just
come
feels
out
a
of me,
little bit
Jabsy.
stiff with regards to the car crashes.
You're getting me all chubbed up now, Chalky. Oh, there. That one made me right
Turn
teeth
around.
tighten up.
Hopefully the meter hasn't gone down too much.
Pick the wrong man to call out.
Oh,
Great.
That's already. I got drinking to do. Pull over here. Now,
Thank
get the
goodness.
fuck out of my ride. Give me time to sober up, then come see me. I think we can work something out.
So that banter there, it's kind of the first time that I've heard any of the NPCs, major NPCs in the game, use racial epithets against Lincoln. Again, he was calling him Chalky there. And it's funny because despite the fact that you hear a lot of that kind of banter just walking the streets in certain areas, Lincoln as a character doesn't really seem that bothered by it. And looks like this must have been one of the cars I hit. And he also doesn't really seem that angered when he is confronted with it. And it's kind of an odd thing because, you know, the game has done so much to kind of build up this idea of you're in the segregated South, you're going to be experiencing this type of racism firsthand, but it seems like the player character himself is not terribly concerned by it. So I'm not sure this is coming through, but the radio station I'm on right now is actually being run by an underground Black Panther member, and he's kind of promoting the message of a racial conflict against the white population in New Orleans. And like I said last time, the Black Panther Party really didn't have much of a presence in New Orleans until the early 1970s. Again, it started in California in 66, moved across the country into major metropolitan areas after 66. But New Orleans was kind of, again, a place where there was some civil rights activity, but not to the degree that you saw in other major cities, especially major cities with a large African American population. Great. So each associate has kind of specialty trait that allows them to help Lincoln Clay with his missions. And this Burke character, this Irish guy, he is apparently responsible for vehicle delivery, which will help quite a bit. Okay, talk to Nikki Burke. Some guys playing dice over there. You see that quite a bit around on street corners.
Lincoln, over here.
Surprised to see you here, Nikki.
I know what you're planning on doing, and I couldn't just sit here and watch my old man send you out half-cocked. Fuck.
Well, your dad's never been much for details.
Yeah, what he didn't tell you is that the man running the Sweetwater
See, they've got
Distillery is named Carl Bevis.
magazines
Hot-ass, country asshole.
up on the
His family
wall,
runs
and then
the
also
shop business, sells it to local
festival
shops.
posters,
Bevis
jazz
ever
fest
let on the
posters,
weight
and as far as I can tell, those are
He's got
accurate
brains enough to move
to the
things
time
around.
period, or at least they were
Rumor
taken
is
from
he's
the
got a map here somewhere
1960s.
for his drivers.
Something like that could come in handy. Maybe I'll convince one of his men to tell me where it is.
Hey, we've got another man, goes by the name of Bear, keeping an eye on the meatpacking plant. You should go see him.
I'll do that. Thanks for the help.
Anytime, Lincoln. Know what Bevis is up to, you're gonna have to get at some of his people.
Okay, that's odd. Another thing that you see in this game is the game has a set of collectibles, which include old Playboy magazines from the 1960s. And these Playboys, they of course include the new photographs of women, but also they include the articles from the time period. And I'm not sure why the magazines are there to begin with, but then also why they include the articles. it's just a really strange thing. But there's also a Hot Rod magazine, another collectible. I'm trying to think of what the other ones are. Let's get into this convertible here. Okay. So now we've got a new set of missions that we can go do. Most of them revolving around moonshine. And the game, you see these junction boxes here for each of the interior parts of the districts, and you can take these over by installing a wiretap, and essentially they work the same way as a tower in an Assassin's Creed game or in, you know, an Ubisoft open world game. And you get these wiretaps by collecting different electronic equipment from around the city, and the network that you're tapping into is controlled by Lincoln Clay's CIA buddy, John Donovan. And what's interesting about this is that, you know, the game is set up so that Lincoln Clay is a Vietnam veteran, and he was part of the Phoenix program in the Vietnam War. And he was basically running covert operations with CIA agents in Vietnam, including this guy Donovan. And what's interesting about that is that he seems to have a very good relationship with Donovan, who's white. And that's kind of atypical for a lot of black veterans, especially during Vietnam, or the Vietnam era, not necessarily in Vietnam, just in the American military at this time. And, you know, of course, famously, the American Armed Forces desegregated in the late 1940s, but that didn't necessarily mean that racism in the armed forces went away. And for most veterans in the armed forces at this time, somebody, you know, kind of serving alongside Lincoln Clay, they would have experienced some pretty horrendous racism, some, you know, kind of unspoken segregation, unspoken racial division. But what's strange about this game is that Lincoln Clay seems to speak fondly about his time in the war, and in particular with his relationship with John Donovan, this white CIA agent. And I haven't gotten that far into the game, so maybe that opens up a bit later on so you get more specifics, but it's just strange to have a Vietnam War veteran who's an African American seem to have such a positive kind of remembrance or opinion about their time in the war. So, just a little bit strange. So let's take out this enforcer. Some great old architecture here. You see this briar patch. Looks like a bar or a restaurant. Just that great late 60s design. Looks kind of like a Howard Johnson or something like that.
All dressed up and no one to whack. Hit the dike, grenade! That shit's all him. Let's go. Shooting gallery. Real different to killing me. Got to reload.
Oops, did not mean to do that. I assume I could just shoot these barrels. Yep. So I haven't yet got a hold of any high explosives, so I'm gonna have to, I think, throw a grenade in order to blow up this truck. There we go. Okay, well that was incredibly easy. Let's see about another objective here. Interrogate bootleggers. Well, let's go check this out. I have no idea what this is. Of course, you see different cars, different types of people in each of the neighborhoods, and it's inaccurate to have these districts divided by these bridges, basically their own individual rivers and moats around them, but I think it helps quite a bit to kind of keep a good sense of the not only the geography of the game, but then also kind of the racial and socioeconomic divisions between them. So it's a gameplay mechanic, but it's also one that I think reflects a historical reality. Really interesting bar here. Kind of a great lived-in feel. And I love the inclusion of the guy asleep on the couch.
You Bear? Nikki sent me.
Oh, I'm gonna marry that girl someday. Bear Donnelly. I own Nicky's everything. He has me keeping an eye on the Roberto meatpacking plant.
Who's running things over there?
Nut job by the name of Sonny Blue. Lets a room out to the butcher's loan sharks. Protection guys too. If they can't do it there, they put the hurt to people in the street.
Any chance Sonny's around the Robodo?
Fuck no. Sonny only comes around to scare his people into shape. But I'm hearing one of his boys, a fella named Ralph, got caught skimming. They're working the bloody bastard over in the slaughterhouse to find out where he's got it stashed. Might be beneficial to pull his arse out of the fire.
I'll see what I can get out of Sonny's goons. Watch your ass, Bear.
Blue's people are scared of him, might not talk. Why not make him more scared of you?
Alright, let's see. Interesting. Kind of two sets of mission here, color coded. Alright, well let's go to the one that's close. Nah, I might as well jump in the car. Oh, wow. I had no idea it was so close.
Look out!
Got a concrete reservoir here.
Time for negotiating is done and gone, dipshit. You had your chance to make this right. You did take it. So what's happening here is on you. Start moving around. Stop, please.
It doesn't look like I can get in that way. Let's see if I can get in through this door. Nope. Okay, gotta go back around the front.
What? You see a welcome sign? Do you let me?
Oh boy.
You see me trying to get my head down? That's some good shit.
Gonna make this quick.
That did not go well. for that. So I keep bringing up this race angle with regards to Lincoln Clay because, again, it's so odd that he's a military veteran and yet seems to have pretty good relations with white people, and it's interesting that with that being the case and Lincoln being in New Orleans, because one of the most famous instances of racial violence in American history at this time occurred in New Orleans in 1973. And this is the New Orleans sniper incident. And in 1973, New Orleans, a Navy veteran by the name of Mark Essex, African-American veteran, 23 years old, went on a shooting rampage in New Orleans and killed 9 people, including 5 police officers. And Mark Essex was not a combat veteran, but he was a service member during the Vietnam War. I think I'm going to stop here. During the Vietnam War, and he experienced terrible racism in the armed forces, in the Navy in particular. And this drove him to pursue the Black Panther Party, it drove him to pursue anti-white rhetoric and philosophy, and it eventually brought him to New Orleans, where from just about the very beginning of his time in New Orleans, he began to plan this attack on the city, and particularly the city's police, who were really kind of enforcing the continuation of racial segregation in the city. And he ended up killing 9 people, and he tried to focus on killing African, or not African, but on white police officers, but actually one of the first people he shot was an African American police officer. And it's interesting to have this game include a military veteran who again seems to have relatively good relations with whites, at least has friends who are white. And I'm not sure to what extent the game makers are aware of that history. And perhaps there's a mission later on that refers to Mark Essex, but it's just kind of an interesting context for this game, given that past. Okay, well, let's take a look here. And this is, I think, supposed to be a stand-in here for Lake Pontchartrain. I don't know what they call it here, but New Orleans, of course, famously is set between Lake Pontchartrain up here in the north, and then the beginning of the Gulf of Mexico here down to the south. So I wonder what they call this lake. It doesn't have it here. There was a map included with the retail version of the game, but I don't have it on me right now, so I can't check the name of this body of water. So coming up on 40 minutes here, I think that's going to do it for this stream. I just kind of wanted to go through a little bit more of the history of race relations in New Orleans at this time, and kind of compared to the depiction here in the game, and highlighting in particular this interesting issue of military veterans and race relations during the late 60s, early 1970s. So I hope you enjoyed the stream. Again, if you're watching this on Twitch, I'm Bob Whitaker from History Respawned. We want to run a YouTube series that focuses on historical video games, and this stream will be archived to our YouTube page. So thanks for joining me.